Hey there! So today's going to be a little bit different because I am not going to be teaching you about how to make something. This is more just going to be me talking about something that I am currently working on. Specifically, this is about Magic the Gathering in Resonite. Now, for the longest time, the way that I actually played Magic the Gathering in Resonite is that I wrote a little application in C# that takes a Mox field deck list and then just outputs the individual images and just generates a sprite sheet. And I bring in that sprite sheet into Resonite, and that's what I then actually use to play the game. Now, this does mean that you have the actual individual images in here. Well, not the individual ones, but like the sprite sheet in here. You need to store that sprite sheet, and that takes up some level of storage. Now, on top of that, it does mean that if I want to share this with someone, I need to send them both, obviously, an instruction of how to use it, and also the fact that, hey, you need to run this random executable file I made. Trust me, bro. Which is not, it's not the best. So I'm moving the entire thing into Resonite. As you can see here, this is the code right now for the Mox field parser. It just takes a Mox field deck list, such as, for example, if you go into the deck data here, this is my deck list for my Ariete deck. And then we just click the button here, it'll pass that into the deck processor and generate that. Now, don't worry about how this looks right now. Once this is finished, there's literally just going to be, you enter your deck list. The moment you enter your deck list, it's just runs it and just outputs the cards. This is just because I'm still working on it, that it looks like this. It's just a bunch of debug stuff. If I now run this, you will see how long it takes to complete. It was a joke. It's like instant. It's like the moment I press the button, it's already done. It's like less than a few milliseconds. Now, the thing with these is that they're actually individual images now, which means that they take up like a tiny bit more VRAM because I'm not downsizing them anymore. Because what I used to do is actually generate the sprite sheet and then half it to save on like VRAM stuff like that. What we're going to be doing instead is we will, for example, be like, oh, let me disable MIP maps while the card isn't in use. On top of that, these do not take up any of your Resonite storage because I'm just using Scryfall's API. As you can see, this is just referencing the large version on Scryfall's API. We can also potentially change it so that the version being requested is a lower resolution version by default, and then just when you play the card, it swaps over from the smaller version to the larger version. I think it's literally just small is the endpoint, like the code for that. I'm pretty certain. Yeah, so if I scroll down here, you'll see this is like 148 by 204, taking up 19.66 kilobytes versus the full res versions that take 409. So while it's in your deck, I can just swap that to the small variant, and boom. And I can literally just find and replace the end of the like text there, well, the URL. Now, what you're probably thinking, if you've never even thought about card games in Resonite, or let alone Magic the Gathering in Resonite, is like, okay, yeah, you can get the images, but like, would you mean playing like Magic in here? And I can show you. So I do have already a set of version that works. As I said before, we've already been playing it. This is just a new way to generate the decks. For example, I do have exactly the same deck I have out here already prepared here. And it works very easily. So all you need to do is, here you have your deck. There's a button to shuffle it. You can physically draw a card. And then you use your lasers to draw the card. So you can hold it, you can position it. Then, yeah, that's it. You can click the card and it'll rotate. There's also a counter system on it where you can put counters on it, and that is the basic functionality of it. You might notice at the bottom here, there's, let me put this back in the smooth POV. There's this little indicator here that I made, which basically is just a mana tracker. If you actually make that much mana to need to keep track of it, if you press the top of it, it goes up. If you press the bottom of the icon, it goes down. Let me enable the lasers real quick. There we go. So if I press the top of the icon, it goes up. If I press the bottom, it goes down. I might rework this at some point to be prettier, but a lot of this was built like with functionality first. But it has a bunch of stuff that is just not visible on camera. For example, this little zero here does have like a plus and a minus button that is just not visible on the camera. So that, for example, if you're doing a web game where you're streaming it from above like this, it actually does look nice and clean rather than having the necessary visuals that, people on stream don't need to see. For example, I have a button here that can just bring on "you died." But yeah, I do also have a draw button here that you can't see on camera, which basically, if you press this button here, it just automatically draws a card, so you don't have to physically draw. That's mainly for desktop, but some people also just, like, yes, you can physically draw, but that novelty for some people is just not as important. So draw button. I still am thinking about like adding, for example, buttons where you can click a card and then just click the boards to just put it down, to just make the friction a lot easier, like make it a lot less friction to like just play the game. But yeah, that's what I have been working on. Another thing that I've been working on is actually reworking my grabbable system, with which I've been making massive improvements because I wrote everything from scratch, and now the code is like less than 10 nodes and is super efficient. I might make a video on that in the future when that's going into more feature parity with the old version state. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have questions about Resonite, ask them below. Bye.